Is the UK falling apart right before our eyes? With over 7.6 million people stuck on NHS waiting lists, the highest since records began, and nearly 1 in 3 households struggling to afford basic necessities, something is deeply wrong. Add to that the fact that more than half of Scots now support independence, and you start to wonder, is the United Kingdom even united anymore? This isn't just about politics or economics. It's about a nation that feels like it's unraveling at the seams. Rising poverty, leadership crises, record homelessness, and a younger generation looking for the exit sign. From the outside, it may seem like business as usual, but the cracks are growing fast. In this video, we're diving into 10 alarming reasons why some experts believe the UK may be heading toward a breaking point. Stick around till the end, because the final reason might just change how you see the country forever. Number 10. Cost of living crisis. The cost of simply staying alive in the UK has never been higher. Over the last few years, prices for essentials like food, energy, rent, and transport have surged at a pace not seen since the 1970s. While inflation is cooling slightly on paper, for everyday people, it doesn't feel that way. A loaf of bread that once cost 90p now pushes past £1.40. Energy bills doubled in some homes, and petrol prices? They've gone through the roof. Wages aren't keeping up, and more than 30% of households report having to cut back on food, heating, or even hygiene products just to survive. And it's not just the poorest being hit. Middle-income families are now relying on food banks, and many are one unexpected bill away from financial disaster. Parents are skipping meals so their children can eat. Young people, especially renters, are being squeezed out of cities where jobs exist, forced to move back home or into overcrowded housing. According to the Trussell Trust, food bank use reached record highs in 2025, with over 3 million emergency food parcels handed out in just 1 year. This isn't a temporary squeeze, it's a warning sign. What makes this crisis even more dangerous is how quiet and invisible it can feel. Unlike a war or natural disaster, there's no single moment of collapse, just a slow grind of pressure that breaks people down, one bill at a time. It erodes dignity, mental health, and trust in government. If a country can't afford to feed, heat, or house its people, what future does it really have? The cost of living crisis isn't just an economic issue. It's a test of how long a nation can stretch before something finally snaps. Number 9. NHS under collapse. The NHS, once the pride of Britain, is now on the brink of collapse. What was once seen as the gold standard of universal healthcare is now facing its worst crisis in modern history. As of 2025, more than 7.6 million people are stuck on waiting lists, some for over a year. A&E departments are overflowing, ambulances are missing critical response times, and routine operations are being delayed or cancelled altogether. For many, seeing a GP has become nearly impossible without waiting weeks. Behind the scenes, doctors, nurses, and paramedics are stretched beyond their limits, with staff shortages hitting nearly every part of the system. This isn't just about numbers. It's about real people living in pain, losing loved ones, or being told that help is coming, just not yet. Cancer patients are waiting too long for treatment. Children with mental health needs are falling through the cracks. Elderly patients are being kept in hospital beds for weeks because there's nowhere else for them to go. And while politicians argue over funding and reform, the NHS bleeds out. Many of the staff are quitting or going abroad, leaving the system weaker by the day. According to the British Medical Association, over 60% of junior doctors say they're considering leaving the NHS within the next 2 years. What makes this collapse feel so personal is that the NHS isn't just a service. It's a symbol of what the UK stands for: fairness, care, and looking after one another. But now, it's beginning to feel like a ghost of what it once was. When a country can no longer guarantee timely, reliable healthcare to its citizens, it's not just a medical crisis, it's a societal one. And if the NHS falls, it may take public trust and national identity down with it. Number 8. Leadership crisis. It's hard to lead a country when the public no longer trusts its leaders. In the UK, faith in the political system is at an all-time low. Since Brexit, The country has seen a carousel of prime ministers, each promising stability, only to be replaced within months. From party scandals and broken promises to policy U-turns and public infighting, it's become increasingly difficult to tell who's in charge, or if anyone truly is. A 2024 Ipsos poll revealed that nearly 7 in 10 Britons believe none of the major parties are fit to govern. That's not just dissatisfaction, it's a full-blown crisis of confidence. This lack of leadership doesn't just affect Parliament. It trickles down into every part of public life. Major decisions on housing, education, climate, and the economy are delayed or poorly executed, leaving millions in limbo. Constant reshuffles and internal divisions mean no long-term vision is being followed. Meanwhile, public services are deteriorating, infrastructure is crumbling, and no one seems willing, or able, to take real responsibility. The feeling on the ground is one of frustration, exhaustion, and disillusionment. People aren't just angry at politicians. They're giving up on the political process entirely. In a time of global uncertainty, economic instability, and social tension, strong leadership isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. But the UK is stuck in a loop of short-term fixes and headline-grabbing distractions. With every scandal or resignation, the gap between the public and those in power grows wider. When trust breaks down this badly, democracy itself starts to feel fragile. And a nation without faith in its leaders becomes vulnerable, not just politically, but socially and economically as well. If leadership is supposed to guide and protect a nation, then right now, the UK feels like it's steering without a map or a driver. Number 7. Deepening inequality. Britain is becoming a country of two realities, one for the wealthy and one for everyone else. Over the last decade, the gap between the richest and the poorest has widened dramatically. The top 1% now own more wealth than the bottom 70% combined. While luxury flats sit empty in London, millions struggle to pay rent, feed their families, or afford basic necessities. Social mobility, once a cornerstone of British pride, has stalled. If you're born into a poor postcode today, your chances of breaking out are lower than they were 30 years ago. The effects of inequality aren't just financial, they're psychological and social. Entire communities feel forgotten, especially in parts of the North, the Midlands, and coastal towns that never truly recovered from deindustrialization. Schools in poorer areas are underfunded. Public transport is unreliable. Jobs are either scarce or underpaid. At the same time, executives enjoy record bonuses and property portfolios, often untaxed or shielded by loopholes. The divide becomes more visible and more bitter every year. People aren't just angry about being poor. They're angry that the system seems designed to keep them that way. This deep inequality erodes the very idea of a united nation. It breeds resentment, mistrust, and division. When people no longer believe that hard work leads to progress, they stop believing in the future altogether. Political extremes gain ground, social unrest grows, and communities become fractured. A country cannot remain stable if large portions of its population feel permanently excluded from prosperity. And that's where the UK now finds itself, teetering between those who feel the country works for them, and those who believe they've been left behind for good. Number 6. Scotland wants out. The United Kingdom is starting to look a lot less united. Support for Scottish independence has surged, especially after Brexit, which Scotland overwhelmingly voted against. A recent 2025 YouGov poll showed that 53% of Scots would now vote to leave the UK if a second referendum were held. That's a dramatic shift, and it's not just about political identity. Many Scots feel they are being governed by a Westminster system that doesn't represent them, especially on key issues like immigration, energy policy, and welfare. The idea of breaking away is no longer radical, it's becoming mainstream. The push for independence isn't based on emotion alone. Proponents argue that Scotland has the resources, the political will, and the public backing to thrive on its own. With its own legal system, parliament, and education policy already in place, the groundwork has been laid. The energy-rich North Sea, growing green industries, and a strong cultural identity add fuel to the argument. Meanwhile, trust in UK-wide institutions like the monarchy, the Conservative Party, and even the BBC is steadily eroding north of the border. For many Scots, the UK feels less like a partnership and more like a burden. If Scotland were to leave, the consequences would be enormous. Not only would it redraw the map of the British Isles, but it could trigger similar movements in Wales and Northern Ireland. It would call into question the future of Britain's armed forces, economic structure, and even its place on the world stage. Independence wouldn't just split the UK politically, it would shake its very foundation. For the first time in centuries, the possibility of the UK breaking apart isn't a distant theory. It's a real and growing threat that can no longer be ignored. Before we jump into the next reason, we'd love to hear from you. What do you think is the biggest problem facing the UK right now? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We put a lot of time and research into every video, so if you're enjoying this deep dive, please hit that subscribe button. It's just one click, but it truly keeps this channel going. Number 5. Youth exodus. More and more young people are packing their bags and leaving the UK behind, not just for a holiday, but for good. In the last 5 years, there's been a 25% rise in skilled young workers emigrating, seeking better opportunities, higher wages, and improved quality of life abroad. From Germany to Canada to Australia, these countries are actively welcoming British talent that no longer sees a future at home. It's not just about money, it's about frustration. Stagnant wages, unaffordable housing, underfunded education, and a broken political system are pushing the UK's future generation to look elsewhere. This trend is deeply worrying. When a nation starts losing its young, it's not just losing workers, it's losing energy, innovation, and ambition. Many of those leaving are graduates, tech professionals, healthcare workers, and entrepreneurs. These are the very people the UK needs to rebuild its economy, adapt to a changing world, and compete globally. But instead of investing in them, the country seems to be pushing them out. With student debt piling up and no clear path to security or growth, leaving becomes a rational choice, not a desperate one. The long-term consequences are serious. An aging population means the UK will soon need more workers to support pensions, public services, and economic growth. But if the youth continue to leave, that gap will only widen. Socially, it creates a divide between generations, one growing older and more dependent, the other choosing to start their lives elsewhere. Politically, it leads to apathy and alienation, as the most dynamic voices disengage from a system they feel has failed them. When a country can't give its young people a reason to stay, it risks losing not just its workforce, but its future. Number 4. Losing global influence. Once known as a global powerhouse, the UK is now struggling to maintain its place on the world stage. Since leaving the European Union, its diplomatic reach has narrowed, its trade deals have become more difficult to negotiate, and its soft power, the ability to influence others through culture and values, has noticeably declined. In the 2025 Soft Power Index, the UK dropped out of the global top 5 for the first time in over a decade. Meanwhile, other nations like France, Germany, and even Canada are expanding their global influence through strategic alliances and forward-looking policies. Trade has taken a major hit. Being outside of the EU single market means British companies face more red tape, higher costs, and limited access to European consumers. While deals have been struck with countries like Australia and Japan, they haven't made up for the losses. British exports have declined, and investment has slowed. Even the UK's traditionally strong sectors, finance, higher education, and creative industries, are feeling the strain. The country is also missing from major conversations on climate leadership and global conflict resolution, areas where it once played a key role. The impact isn't just economic or political, it's about identity. For generations, Britain saw itself as a leader, a connector, a nation with a seat at every major table. But today, it often looks like it's sitting on the sidelines. Younger generations no longer grow up with the same sense of national pride or global respect. As other countries rise, the UK must now decide whether to adapt, rebuild its alliances, and modernize, or continue slipping into irrelevance. Because once global influence is lost, it's incredibly difficult to get it back. Number 3. Housing crisis. Owning a home in the UK has become a dream that feels completely out of reach for millions, especially the younger generation. Over the last decade, house prices have risen far faster than wages, creating one of the least affordable housing markets in Europe. According to the Office for National Statistics, the average UK house now costs over 9 times the average salary, a figure that was just 4 times in the 1990s. Meanwhile, renting isn't any better. Rents have hit record highs in almost every major city, leaving tenants trapped in a cycle of high costs and low stability. This crisis isn't just about high prices, it's about a chronic shortage of affordable homes, years of underbuilding, and property being treated more as an investment than a basic human need. Councils can't build fast enough, private developers focus on luxury flats, and government schemes often end up driving prices even higher. At the same time, homelessness is rising sharply. As of 2025, more than 320,000 people in the UK are homeless or living in temporary accommodation. That number includes not just rough sleepers, but families with children living in hostels and emergency shelters. The consequences are everywhere. Young adults are living with parents well into their 30s, delaying families, careers, and independence. Key workers, like teachers, nurses, and police officers, can't afford to live in the communities they serve. Entire generations are being shut out of stability and wealth building, creating deep social and economic divides. Housing is supposed to be a foundation for life. But in today's UK, it's become a battleground, one that is pricing out its own citizens and pushing the dream of home ownership further and further away. If people can't afford to live securely, then the foundation of society starts to crumble. Number 2. Climate breakdown. Climate change is no longer a distant threat for the UK. It's happening right now, and the effects are escalating fast. Floods are more frequent and more severe, heat waves are becoming deadly, and unpredictable weather patterns are disrupting everything from farming to transport. According to the Met Office, by 2050, 1 in every 6 properties in the UK could be at risk of flooding. Coastal erosion is swallowing land, and rising sea levels are putting pressure on already fragile infrastructure. These aren't rare disasters, they're becoming the new normal. The UK government has made promises on carbon emissions, but progress is slow, and many environmental targets are being quietly pushed back. In some cases, policies meant to protect the planet are being rolled back altogether in the name of short-term economic gains. Meanwhile, cities like London, Manchester, and Birmingham are struggling with dangerous air pollution, while rural areas face water shortages and declining biodiversity. The country's energy transition is stalled, leaving people to deal with high bills, unreliable supply, and little real movement toward a sustainable future. But the scariest part? Most of the UK still isn't ready. Drainage systems are outdated. Coastal defences are crumbling. Emergency response services are underfunded. The infrastructure built for a different era is now completely unfit for the climate of the future. And as insurance companies start pulling out of high-risk areas, even those who can afford to rebuild might not be able to. Climate breakdown is no longer just an environmental issue. It's a housing issue, a health issue, and a financial time bomb. If the UK doesn't act now, the damage won't just be physical. It will reshape where and how people can live in the years to come. Number 1. Identity crisis. Perhaps the most unsettling threat to the UK isn't economic or environmental, it's existential. The country is facing a deep and growing identity crisis. What does it even mean to be British today? For many, that answer has become blurred. Generations grew up with the idea of Britain as a global leader, a place of unity, shared values, and stability. But after years of political division, regional tension, cultural fragmentation, and economic uncertainty, that shared identity is crumbling. The flags are still there, but the sense of belonging is not. Different parts of the UK now seem to be pulling in entirely different directions. Scotland wants out. Northern Ireland is reassessing its place in the Union. Wales is quietly building a stronger national voice. Meanwhile, in England, culture wars rage, nationalism is rising, and many communities feel alienated, whether by race, class, or belief. There is no longer a single story of what the UK is, who it represents, or where it's going. Instead of a nation united by purpose, it's starting to feel like a loose collection of regions with diverging futures. This breakdown in identity affects everything else. Without a clear sense of who we are, it's hard to decide what we stand for, what we want to build, or who we're building it for. National unity isn't just a political concept. It's the emotional glue that holds a country together through difficult times. And right now, that glue is wearing thin. If the UK can't rediscover a common identity that includes everyone, regardless of background or postcode, then its future as a united nation is at real risk. This isn't just the end of an era. It could be the end of the United Kingdom as we know it. The idea of the United Kingdom collapsing might sound extreme, but when you look at these 10 signs side by side, it paints a picture that's hard to ignore. A nation under pressure from every angle, economically stretched, politically unstable, environmentally unprepared, and increasingly divided in identity. These aren't isolated problems. They're deeply connected, and they're accelerating faster than many realize. What's happening now isn't just a phase. It's a turning point. But here's the thing, collapse isn't inevitable. Countries don't fall apart overnight. They unravel slowly, through neglect, division, and silence. And that's why awareness matters. The more we understand what's going wrong, the better chance we have of doing something about it. Change starts with asking hard questions and having uncomfortable conversations. Because pretending everything's fine? That's how things fall apart when no one's looking. So whether you agree with all 10 points or just one, the truth is this: the UK is changing. And where it goes next depends on what we, the people, choose to notice, question, and demand. The future isn't written yet, but the warning signs are right in front of us. If this video opened your eyes, tell us in the comments, what do you think is the biggest threat to the UK's future? We read every response, and your voice matters. We put a huge amount of effort into researching and creating these videos, so if you found value here, support us with a like, and hit that subscribe button. It only takes one click, but it means the world to us. And if you want to go even deeper into the hidden challenges facing today's world, check out our previous video, you'll want to see it. Thanks for watching. Stay informed. Stay curious.